Now, let's talk about value. Using value in your artwork is really important. You want to have a strong contrast, which means you're using a lot of blacks and a lot of whites, and you're not using a whole lot of grays or like the middle grays. You're using it sparingly. So, what I have here, I have a color version of the artwork, and I've taken the artwork and I've converted it to black and white so that you can see the values, because even if something is in color, the color still has value. And here, all of the dark values and the really white values are leading our eyes up like the river and even the sky. Like the top bush is really dark, but it's kind of like bringing our eye down, and that the big sky is really light, and that's leading our eye back into like the center area where the two bushes are starting to meet. So you can use values to lead your viewers' eyes to a certain focal area, and that's what this artist is using it almost like lines to lead us to that area. Now, and I've already said this, it doesn't matter if an artwork is black and white or in color, um, because it still applies. Like color still has value. There's light grays in this painting. There's dark, there, not, there's light greens, sorry, in this artwork, and there's dark greens in this painting. And those dark greens become those really dark values when we convert it to black and white, and the regular greens become like the middle values. So, and the yellow in the artwork essentially becomes our white in the black and white version. So when you're creating artwork, it's really nice to do like a value study beforehand, like a really quick one to figure out your artwork or where your values are going to go before jumping in with color. I know that's not always realistic, and it seems like extra work, but it is a good practice to have. I do have another trick, and I'll share that with you at the end so that if you don't do value studies, you can do this other trick to kind of save you time and to help you with those value contrasts. So here's another one. And here the artist is using like the dark values to lead us to that character in the center. So when the character in the center is already our focus because it's in the center, but you have like these really dark shapes on the sides, kind of like blocking it in and balancing out that dark figure. And then everything else is kind of this medium value, and what the artist does is the artist uses the pure white around the woman, to help our eyes go to that woman after we look at that center figure. So anywhere you have like really dark darks and really bright brights, just naturally our eyes want to go there. Because as human beings, like we really love strong contrast. Anything with a really strong contrast, we're automatically drawn to visually. So you want to be very careful about where you place those really dark areas and where you place those really bright whites, because that'll help your viewer's eyes go to certain locations in an artwork. Now, in this one, the artist isn't using the values to lead our eyes anywhere in particular. What leads our eyes through the artwork are the angles of like the arms and legs of the teddy bear and the girl. But in terms of value, the values are pretty spaced out. Like there's dark values evenly distributed throughout. There's really bright values evenly distributed throughout. There's middle gray values evenly distributed throughout the artwork. So the values don't lead our eyes anywhere in particular, which is fine. This still has a really nice strong contrast, so it still makes this very visually pleasing. So so you don't always have to have artwork that has values that lead your eyes through stuff. It could just be evenly balanced out. Now, if you don't have time to do value studies, which as high school students, um, I think sometimes you feel like it's just an extra step and why are we doing it? As a many artists do practice this, where they do a value study and a color study before they do their final painting. It is a little extra work, but it does help you plan things out so when you do a final piece, it makes you more successful. But what I like to do is I like as I'm working. So I do it as I'm working and then I do it at the end as well. But I take a lot of photos of my art, either in progress or at the end, and then I convert the picture to black and white to see um, what areas are getting lost and some areas that need more values to it. Maybe I need to bring in some darker areas. Maybe I have too much dark and I need some lighter areas. And so I'm able to figure these out. And I'm going to show you two different artworks, one that wasn't successful and one that was. So here, um, this is a painting I didn't plan out. I just kind of was drawing it as I was going and coloring it as I was going along. So this is a fun piece, but it's really not my strongest. There's a lot of things wrong with it. And in the color version, it might be a little hard to see why it's not working, but in the black and white one, I feel like it's a little bit easier to tell what's not working. So I have a little character that's hugging the nose of the tiger, and it gets lost because that character is the same value as the values behind it. I don't have a lot of pure white areas and I don't have a lot of really dark areas. So everything is kind of like the same values. They're all these middle gray values. And if I had just gone in and brought out some darker areas, brought out some more lighter areas, this would have been really, really strong. So even though it's in color, the character is still lost in that color piece, and that's part of the reason why, because I didn't choose my values, my color values well enough. I didn't plan it out. So that's something I could have done to fix this up. I could go back and just add some white and add some darker areas to this painting to really make it stand out. Now, this one is a more successful piece. The characters are definitely what I want to be in focus. And so when I'm looking at this piece in the black and white version, that's very successful. My characters have a lot of lighter values and darker values, really strong contrasts within each character. And then the background is a lot of like middle, like more of the darker side of the values. There's not quite as many middle grays, but a lot more darker values, so that makes the character stand out even more. And that's what makes it a successful piece. So these are some things to think about when you're creating your artwork. Really think about how you're using your value, how you're using your color value, and we'll talk about color value a little bit later. And then just how are you arranging your artwork? This particular piece is a little bit more symmetrical, or kind of maybe a little more asymmetrical, but if we divide it in half, it's pretty even. There's two characters on both sides essentially. So you want to really play with like how you balance everything. That's what's really going to help make your artwork very strong.